What if the very thing you believed would give you strength and meaning was the same thing slowly draining them away? That is the hidden side of intelligence. We are taught to admire it. Schools, jobs, and society measure people by how sharp their mind is. We look up to thinkers and call them gifted, as if intelligence alone guarantees a better life. Arthur Schopenhauer did not see it that way. For him, intelligence was not always a gift. It could be a weight, even a source of suffering. The more a person sees, the more he understands, the harder it is to look away from life's flaws. Knowledge does not only bring clarity, it also removes the illusions that make life easier to endure. The illusion that progress means happiness, that success erases emptiness, that love cures loneliness. An intelligent mind often sees through these stories, and what remains is not comfort, but a deeper awareness of struggle. Schopenhauer's warning was straightforward. Intelligence can disturb peace of mind. It can trap a person in restless thoughts. It can drain joy from simple moments. It can create distance from others, leaving one feeling like an outsider in ordinary life. This is not encouragement. It is not meant to inspire. It is a truth most people avoid, because once you see it, you cannot turn back. So the question is this: if intelligence brings clarity, why does it so often feel like a burden? Why does knowing more so often mean suffering more? To understand that, we need to see the world as Schopenhauer saw it, shaped not by reason or progress, but by struggle, pain, and a blind force he called the will to live. Arthur Schopenhauer was born in 1788 into a wealthy merchant family. His childhood was marked by privilege, but also by conflict. His father wanted him to follow a business career. His mother, a writer, valued social life and appearances. Arthur never fit into either world. After his father's early death, likely by suicide, Schopenhauer withdrew more and more into books, study, and isolation. This background shaped his view of life. While many philosophers of his time were speaking about reason, progress, and human potential, Schopenhauer focused on what he saw every day: disappointment, conflict, and suffering. He thought philosophy should not flatter us with comforting ideas, but should show life as it really is. And what he saw was not progress, but struggle. For Schopenhauer, suffering was not an accident of life. It was the rule. Hunger, loss, boredom, illness. These were not exceptions, but the very structure of existence. Even moments of happiness were fragile. They quickly gave way to new needs, new frustrations. He wrote about it with brutal honesty. People chase goals, and when they finally reach them, the satisfaction is short. Soon another desire takes its place, and the cycle starts again. Life, in his words, swings back and forth like a pendulum, from pain to boredom, with only brief flashes of relief. This is the world that intelligence must face. The more aware the mind becomes, the more clearly it sees this endless cycle. Where others can hide in illusions, the intelligent person notices the pattern and feels the weight of it. Imagine a man at a crowded dinner table. Everyone laughs at shallow jokes, talks about business, or praises each other's success. He smiles, but inside he feels apart. His intelligence shows him how empty these moments are, how quickly they vanish. He cannot join in fully because he sees what others ignore. This is the isolation Schopenhauer describes. Not chosen, not desired, but forced by the clarity of intelligence. To see too much is to feel too much. For Schopenhauer, intelligence was never just the ability to solve problems or collect knowledge. It was awareness, the capacity to see behind appearances. And that awareness cuts both ways. On one side, intelligence allows us to understand, to create, to imagine. On the other, it strips away illusions. It shows us the emptiness behind the things we chase. It makes us feel the suffering of life more sharply. The more intelligent a person is, the harder it becomes to live inside ordinary comfort. Where others find meaning in simple routines, the intelligent mind often sees only repetition. Where others lose themselves in small pleasures, the intelligent mind notices how short and fragile they are. Think of it like this: a child enjoys a toy because he believes in its magic. An adult sees plastic, cheap paint and a trick of the mind. The joy disappears with the illusion. Intelligence often does the same to life itself. This is why Schopenhauer called intelligence a double-edged sword. It can elevate, but it can also wound. Imagine a man walking home at night. He sees the city lights, hears music from a cafe, and watches people laughing inside. For many, it is just life as usual. But for him, every sound reminds him how brief joy is, how soon it will fade. He notices the passing of time, the inevitability of loss, the certainty that all of this will vanish. His intelligence sharpens his perception, but it also sharpens his sorrow. Schopenhauer's point was not that intelligence is bad, he valued it, but he warned that it carries a cost. The more you see, the more you understand the suffering built into existence itself. This is the paradox. The brighter the light of understanding, the darker the shadows it casts. The burden of intelligence is not only what it reveals about life, but what it does to our place among others. Schopenhauer observed that the more intelligent a person is, the harder it becomes to feel at home in society. Ordinary conversation, daily ambitions, even friendships can feel shallow. What most people find satisfying often feels empty to the one who sees too much. It is not arrogance, it is distance. Think of a gathering where everyone is laughing, telling stories, trading gossip. One man in the corner smiles politely, but his mind drifts elsewhere. He is not above the others. He simply cannot share their illusions. The jokes feel forced. The excitement about careers or money seems hollow. He notices the small lies people tell themselves to get through the day. He cannot unsee them, and so he stands apart. This is the quiet isolation of intelligence. It creates a gap between what one sees and what others believe. And the more that gap grows, the more the intelligent person feels like an outsider, present in the world, but never fully part of it. Many people in this position describe the same feeling: misunderstood, detached, alone even in a crowd. Schopenhauer knew this well. He wrote that solitude is often the fate of the intelligent, not because they choose it, but because they cannot ignore what they see. Here lies another paradox. The gift of a sharp mind can leave a man stranded, unable to share his inner world, surrounded by people yet more alone than ever. At the center of Schopenhauer's philosophy stands one idea: the will to live. For him, this was the force behind everything, blind, endless, and indifferent. Every living being, from the smallest insect to the most intelligent human, is driven by this will: to survive, to reproduce, to keep going. It does not care about happiness or peace. It only pushes forward again and again. This is why Schopenhauer said life is not guided by reason, it is guided by impulse. The will does not ask what is good or meaningful. It only demands, strive, want, desire. And here intelligence becomes a problem. A less intelligent person follows the will without question. He works, he eats, he rests, he desires again. The cycle feels natural. There is no need to think about it. But the intelligent person sees through the cycle. He notices the repetition, the futility. Every goal reached quickly gives way to another. Every desire satisfied soon turns into boredom, which itself becomes another kind of suffering. Schopenhauer compared life to a pendulum, swinging between pain and boredom, with only brief moments of rest. The more intelligent the mind, the more clearly it sees this movement. Picture a man who spends years chasing wealth. He finally gets it, but the joy fades within months. He feels empty, so he sets a new goal: status, recognition, power. He reaches it, and again, emptiness returns. He cannot escape the cycle. His intelligence tells him why. Desire itself has no end. The will always demands more. This is why, for Schopenhauer, awareness is often a curse. It reveals that we are slaves to the will, caught in a cycle we cannot win. We chase, we suffer, we achieve, we suffer again. But he also believed that in seeing this clearly, there is a chance for liberation. Intelligence may expose the trap, but it also shows us where the door might be. If the will to live traps us in endless desire, what can free us, even for a moment? For Schopenhauer, the answer was art. Art, he believed, offers a way to step outside the cycle. When we lose ourselves in music, in painting, in literature, we stop striving. For a brief moment, we are no longer chasing or fearing. We are simply seeing. Music held a special place for him. He called it the purest art because it speaks directly to the will itself. It does not describe the world. It expresses the forces behind it. A melody can carry joy, grief, longing without words, without concepts. It bypasses the restless intellect and touches something deeper. Imagine sitting alone, troubled by thoughts that will not stop. Then a piece of music begins. At first you resist, but slowly the sound takes over. Your mind quiets. For those minutes you are not calculating, not chasing, not trapped in the cycle. You are simply there. That, for Schopenhauer, is liberation, even if it does not last. The same is true for literature, painting, or philosophy. When we stand before a great work of art, or when we read words that reveal a truth, our perspective shifts. We are no longer slaves to the will. We become observers. We see the world not as something to be used or conquered, but as something to contemplate. For Schopenhauer, these moments matter. They do not erase suffering, but they give us distance from it. They show us that another way of seeing is possible. Art can give us moments of relief, but Schopenhauer wanted more than escape. He believed we could train the mind to quiet the will, to step back from endless wanting and find peace inside ourselves. For him, this was not about achieving more, but about learning to let go. Modern life tells us that ambition, progress, and constant activity are signs of strength. Schopenhauer turned this upside down. He argued that real strength is the ability to resist the will, to stop chasing when the chase itself creates misery. Quieting the will begins with acceptance. Life will always carry suffering, pain, loss, disappointment. None of it can be avoided. Fighting it only makes it worse. Accepting it makes it bearable. The next step is perspective. Not every thought deserves attention. Not every desire deserves pursuit. By creating distance between ourselves and the pull of the will, we begin to find calm. This is why Schopenhauer admired practices like meditation and contemplation, ways of stepping back from the noise of the mind. Picture a man sitting by a lake at dusk. For once, he is not checking his plans, not worrying about what comes next. He watches the still water. His mind slows down. The will, for that moment, is silent. that silence is not emptiness, it is freedom. This is what Schopenhauer meant. Quieting the will does not erase life's struggles, but it creates space within them. A person who can step back is no longer fully trapped by desire. He sees suffering, but he is not consumed by it. In a world that glorifies speed, ambition, and constant striving, this message feels almost radical. Peace comes not from doing more, but from letting go. Intelligence often isolates. It sets a person apart, making him feel cut off from others. But Schopenhauer believed there was one force strong enough to bridge that distance: compassion. Compassion for him was not a moral slogan. It was recognition. When you look at another human being and see that their suffering is not so different from your own, the walls between you begin to weaken. You understand that pain is universal: hunger, loss, fear, loneliness. No one escapes them. Imagine a moment on a crowded street. You see a stranger struggling with heavy bags. For a second, you feel their strain as if it were your own. That small shift, that awareness is compassion. It connects two lives that might otherwise remain separate. Schopenhauer thought this was the foundation of true human connection. Not shallow talk, not social games, but a shared recognition of the weight of existence. Intelligence may show us the truth of life's suffering, but compassion allows us to carry it together. For Schopenhauer, compassion was important, but it was not the final step. His most radical idea was renunciation, letting go not only of desires, but of the ego itself. The ego always wants recognition, success, control. It tells us we are the center of the story, that the world must bend to our will. But this is the very source of our suffering. The will keeps pushing, and the ego keeps demanding more. Schopenhauer was influenced by Buddhism and other Eastern philosophies. He believed that freedom comes when we loosen the grip of the ego, when we stop clinging to what we want and stop resisting what we fear. This does not mean abandoning life. It means approaching it with humility, without constant struggle. Picture a man who has spent decades chasing status. He finally realizes the race has no end. Instead of running faster, he steps off the track. He accepts that loss, pain, and death are part of life. And in that acceptance, he feels a calm he never knew before. Renunciation is not about giving up on living. It is about giving up the illusion of control. It is about saying, I will not fight every battle the will demands. I will live, but I will not be its slave. For Schopenhauer, this was the highest form of wisdom, to let go, and in letting go, to find peace. So where does all this leave us? Schopenhauer did not deny that intelligence is powerful, but he showed that it comes with a hidden cost. The more we see, the more we notice life's suffering, its illusions, its endless cycle of desire. Intelligence can isolate us, disturb our peace, and make joy harder to hold on to. And yet, it is not only a curse. The same intelligence that reveals the weight of existence also points to the path of release. Through art, we glimpse moments of freedom. Through quieting the will, we learn to step back from endless wanting. Through compassion, we connect with others in a deeper way. And through letting go of the ego, we find peace in acceptance. This is the wisdom Schopenhauer wanted us to see, that intelligence is not enough. Knowledge alone will not bring happiness. What matters is how we use it, whether to feed the will or to escape its grip. So ask yourself, is your intelligence making you restless, or is it guiding you to calm? Are you trapped in the chase for more, or are you learning to let go? Schopenhauer's warning is not meant to discourage, but to open our eyes. Intelligence can destroy your peace if you let it, but it can also free you if you turn it into wisdom.